Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you in the aftermath of UFC 194. Conor McGregor beats José Aldo in 15 seconds. Who would have ever thought that Conor McGregor would have done it for the Vine and knocked him out so fast? I mean, I will always remember, basically Conor McGregor looking at José Aldo on the ground before dropping down to give those big hammer punches to the head. Again, I'm like, what the fuck just happened? I mean, he was in shock just like we were in shock at home, basically seeing what was going down. Now, basically Conor McGregor has talked about the fact that he wanted to win the championship from José Aldo, and he wants to get out of this weight class, and he wants to move up higher. Lots of talk about basically UFC coming down with, higher drug testing and basically, weight cutting limits and, just sort of not letting guys use the IV bags in order to, get themselves back into, fighting, being ready after the fact of cutting so much weight after weigh-ins and then getting ready to, get into the octagon the next night. A lot of guys will be moving weight classes and things like that, but honestly, if Conor can stay in this weight class, I think that he definitely has 3 fights that people will pay for in this weight class. I mean, definitely everybody knows that there was lots of talk about this José Aldo fight. I maybe think that the fight in July would have been bigger than it was now. In the last week, I didn't hear as much about this fight as I had heard in the past. I don't know if people were still reeling from Ronda Rousey losing at the last UFC that went down to Holly Holm and just couldn't believe it. And maybe they just thought that maybe Conor McGregor was a little bit of a flash in the pan. Maybe he wasn't tested all the way until he got to here. He got that lucky break in the Chad Mendes fight and was able to squeak his way out of that. That was sort of his first real stiff competition. He sort of talked his way into the José Aldo fight, but definitely, after beating Chad Mendes and definitely beating José Aldo, I'm not going to say that that Conor McGregor is one of the all-time greats, but definitely he deserves to be champion of this weight class. And I think that honestly, there's 3 fights in this weight class that people will pay for. Last night, on the Ultimate Fighter finale, the main event was Chad Mendes going up against Frankie Edgar. A very stiff, very good fight on paper. Definitely the first round TKO with Chad Mendes getting knocked out by Frankie Edgar. That surprised a lot of people, and Frankie Edgar is your new, on paper, new #1 contender. Definitely, if you go and you think about, Ronda Rousey, she was told that she was going to fight Miesha Tate after Miesha Tate won her fight and was, told that she was the #1 contender if she won that fight, and then basically had the fight swept away from her, and Holly Holm was given the fight. And on paper now, they look like they're geniuses for giving Holly the fight and Holly beating Ronda. But Frankie Edgar is told that he's the #1 contender. It's not the big fight that I think a lot of people want to see, but Conor is going to probably hype this up and probably make it one of the biggest fights ever. Definitely, Frankie Edgar is going to be able to talk a good game about basically, Conor McGregor hasn't pushed into a really good fight, and Frankie Edgar is going to be the guy to give it to him. And he's the guy that beat Conor in the one fight that he had that was really good with sniff competition. José Aldo was talked about as being the real deal for Conor and the biggest test that he was going to have, and Conor beat him in 13 seconds. José Aldo asked for a rematch. I believe that UFC is going to have to give José Aldo that rematch, whether if he bumps Frankie Edgar or if he has to get second in line. In my book, José Aldo didn't lose for 10 years. He was champion for 10 years. He deserves a rematch. I think that people would want to see Aldo versus McGregor and maybe see that there's going to be a real fight from these 2 guys. And then honestly, the fight that I'm rooting for is Chad Mendes, who right now is in the back of the line, and he does deserve to be #3. But he will always be looked at as that guy that opened up Conor McGregor's game. He took the challenge when José Aldo backed out with, I believe, 10 to 14 days to the fight with the rib injury. He was somewhere in between there. Chad Mendes stepped up to the plate because, he is a guy that was probably looking at, it was going to be a while before he got a shot to go after this championship. So he jumped to become interim champion. Him and Conor had a hell of a fight where Mendes is one hell of a wrestler, took Conor down on the ground and really showed the blueprints on maybe how to beat Conor McGregor at some point in the future. And I think that he deserves another shot with a full camp. But he's a guy that's probably going to have to win a fight or maybe even 2 fights in order to get in line to go after Conor. So we're going to have to see what's going to be going down. But that's probably the timetable on what Conor's doing. If he can win these next 3 fights, then I can see him jumping up that weight class and maybe going after another championship. But for now, I think he's going to be stuck here because there's 3 fights that definitely UFC and Conor McGregor can sell and make a lot of money.